Our Emma is the only Emma in the world that would try sand more than once.
She would.
Yes, and she has. It's the only person that, puts sand in their mouth and is like, you know what? Let's just try that again. We'll make sure this is as bad as it could be. Oh, man.
You have to make sure you don't use this for the intro because Emma has specifically said, do not talk about me on the podcast.
You know what? I'm definitely putting this in, especially for the intro, and I'm going to give Emma a huge shout out. All right. You guys ready?
Ready.
Welcome back to another edition of the Pear Genius podcast. We have Kati in the house. I am Alex, and today we have the lovely and talented Jill Novak from sisterscience.ca, a local Cochranite, which is even more awesomer. It's too bad we don't have like a studio where we could all record together, but maybe on the next iteration of our podcast. But welcome, Jill. Maybe just give us a quick intro, and we're just going to throw you into the genius zone immediately.
Oh gosh. Okay. Sister Science has been sort of growing for about 15 years. It started in 2008 when I became a yoga teacher. And then in a few years after that, I became a yoga therapist. And then I found Ayurveda. And Ayurveda is the sister science of yoga. Do you see where I got my company name?
Very
So
cool.
these two modalities dovetail together. And while yoga it's almost like this physical practice that's end goal is to bring you to this spiritual liberation. Ayurveda is a very intuitive practice that's end goal is longevity and health into your later years, so that it's not just how long you live, but how well you live into that time.
I
And they
love that.
dovetail together because Ayurveda's practices keep your vessel really clean and really clear, keeps your digestive fire burning well. And all of those are almost prerequisites for this yoga journey that you're going on. That's end result is this sort of spiritual illumination kind of deal at the end. And I think I've got to the point where I don't know if I'm ever going to get to this spiritual illumination at the end of the yoga practice, but the journey is fascinating. And if you think about Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, where there's like this, every Disney movie, there's a crisis and someone rises up and then there's a crescendo and they have to really decide if they're going to own their own belief system or their powers or whatever it is. And then there's a beautiful happy ending. Like that's what this life is. And to me, it feels like Ayurveda has given me language and tools so that journey doesn't feel willy-nilly. It doesn't feel superfluous. It doesn't feel like, I can't think of the word I'm thinking of right now. It just feels purposeful. It feels right. It feels like this is what you're here to do. And why not do it? Why not do it? So yeah, Sister Science has grown from yoga to Ayurveda, and now it's sort of 3-year-long courses. The third one's not quite launched yet, but it's year one is all of the practical habits of Ayurveda. And it teaches you how to be in intuitive relationship to yourself in each season. And the reason I make you be in it for a year is because those answers change each season. So if you're with me in December to March, you think you've got everything figured out, but then spring hits. And all of the things that worked and grounded you in winter season need to be thrown out the window. And a whole new set of routines and rhythms need to be brought in to support you in spring. Again in summer, again in fall. So that's year one. And we refer back to these 10 habits again and again, because as we go to year two, which is yoga philosophy, is helping you like see your patterns, understand why they work, see what's keeping you stuck, where that belief came from, all that kind of stuff. And every time we talk about what would help us release this pattern, we all say, oh, I just need to go back to the habits. I need to go back to the habits of year one, because when I am in those habits, I feel clean, I feel clear, I feel focused and motivated, and I feel like I have the capacity to make changes. Yeah. Year three, which is going to be launched, is all about Dharma, life purpose. So this is all about you being ready to launch into what your gift is to the world and bring it to fruition. Isn't that fun?
That's exciting. It's almost like, oh, I just want to jump to year 3 right now. I
Yeah.
want to know my thing
And
right now.
some people can, but I've worked one-on-one with those people. I've never tried to do it as a group course. And this fall, I'm going to attempt a group course, but one-on-one, you can jump. And maybe some people do need to jump to year three and start bringing that out. But what I found is that sometimes burnout happens then because the foundation underneath you isn't built, and those first two programs kind of are the foundation. So I don't know if it necessarily matters if you take the courses in the right order, but often people who come in and just want help with that life purpose launching it end up back in the year review because they don't have the capacity to allow themselves to grow that much. They don't have the underlying resilience yet built into their systems.
That makes sense, because without understanding who you are, how your body functions, what it needs to thrive, and now you're all of a sudden throwing yourself into purpose and action. Yeah, you're right. Your body's going to kind of give out on you. So it makes sense why you would have to do them in a specific order. But it's nice that you're flexible, that if you see that somebody actually needs a little bit from this year or a little bit from that year, that you're able to guide them kind of that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just feel like I've built this beautiful community and I love being in it. And whenever you are working in your purpose, and you guys must find this too, it actually is something that rejuvenates and supports you rather than emptying and draining you. So anytime you're sort of working in that zone of genius, there isn't a depletion that's happening in your body. There's actually a deposit happening. There's a rejuvenation and a nourishment happening. So,
100%. Yeah,
yeah.
there are times where I'm working, and if it's not soulful work, if I'm not getting joy and excitement out of it, I tell him, I'm like, I'm leaking energy. Like, this is really depleting. And it's stuff that I've always done. But now, especially as I'm moving through menopause, there are things now that I have to burn off, things that are not meant to come over into this next phase of my life. And I'm starting to recognize that, oh, if I'm leaking energy, this is something I'm probably burning off and making
Wow.
space for something new. So,
Yeah. And I think even the way you phrase that is so brilliant because it is that idea of what worked for us last year or in last stage of life or whatever it is. We somehow have this expectation of that's the way we're supposed to do it forever. And it's not true. And so everything sort of has this ebb and flow. And the word in Ayurveda or yoga is spanda. It's like a expansion and contraction and expansion and contraction. So we need things to burn off and create space so that we can move into what's new and next.
One of the quickest ways to die is to just say, "Oh, that's the way we've always done it," and not try and reinvent yourself. That's why so many people are stuck in these weird loops in their cubicles, and why so many people are disconnected from their jobs too, because they have these amazing new ideas, but management might say, "Oh, that's we're not interested. We're just doing it the way we've always done it."
Yeah. There's an idea that most of our society is built of sort of static groups that we belong to. And the word static just means that we don't really want you to change. We've given you the job description. We would prefer if you just followed this, and we don't need advice or changes. We don't need you to grow to a bigger person. We just like you. And sometimes we can get stuck in static roles even as mom or wife or friend or daughter. Like even those relationships can start to be like, no, actually, we would not like you to change. So I think part of our goal as we move forward is to try and find places where a dynamic group or a dynamic relationship is allowed. And we have to reteach ourselves how to be in dynamic relationships because we're so used to being in ones where it's like, oh, these are the rules. I'll follow these rules. Okay, good. I got it. Don't diverge. And then all of a sudden to welcome the idea of dynamic relationships where it's like, How are you growing? What's different? Who do you want to become next? What's wanting to flow out of you? Gorgeous
Yeah.
questions.
Right? Dynamic relationships. So that's something that, and I think we just had a conversation with somebody where we had to talk about our relationship, our marriage, and why it's a soulful and nourishing marriage. And I think that's just it, is that it's that dynamic relationship where we allow each of our souls to grow and expand in the way that it needs to. And it just happens that it's growing together for us. Like that's just our contract, soul contract, in fact, that
Yeah.
when one of us expands, the other gets to come along.
Yes.
And we almost need that play off of each other to get to that next level. And once we figured that out, it became one of those things where, you know what, all of a sudden I have an abundance of patience for you
Yes.
and compassion because I realize you're in the resistance, but it's pushing you towards the growth. And guess what? It's not just for you, it's for me too. So there's even more love and energy behind that.
And it takes a certain amount of vulnerability and risk to put yourself in that relationship because instead of having sort of these known outcomes, all of a sudden you're like, I'm at the whim of these outcomes that are more unknown because change is allowed here. And wherever we allow change, we allow uncertainty. And so those kind of relationships, they're so special if we have the capacity, and that's that word ojus again, to be able to let ourselves be in it. So you have to be able to feel a sense of safety and a sense of purpose. And you have to be able to trust both you and whoever you're in dynamic relationship with.
100%. And I'm so glad you touched on safety because that was the next thing that was coming up as you were talking. I'm like, talk about safety because Alex is really good at creating a space of safety for me to be able to be vulnerable and completely fall apart so that I can rebuild. So, but I recognize that when I'm on the cusp of something that's about to change, he feels a little bit less safe within himself. It's like, uh-oh, she's about to do something.
Yeah.
Right, dear? Like you can feel
Oh
when
yeah.
something's coming and it still freaks you out a little bit.
But I
Yeah,
think if
this
you're
woman has crazy ideas sometimes, Jill.
talking,
Crazy. To
but
me, they're crazy.
that's the play of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And it plays in partnerships as well as within ourselves, right? So when you can be, oh, like I just think that's so beautiful. Like the yin yang symbol of like that expansion and contraction, that be able to be a whole when you come together, but uh, each side being honored, acknowledged, and supported, recognized, whatever it is, as much as the other. Because we live in a world that kind of doesn't know how to do that. Well, doesn't, not kind of. We live in a world that has no idea how to do that.
Right.
Yeah. So when you are creating that relationship, you're kind of trailblazers because there's not, oh, we're just going to do it the way those people over there are doing it, or we're just because there's not really, yeah, stereo models, model
Yeah.
leading.
We've talked about this, and if we could bottle it, or if we could, I wouldn't want us to go to market and be cheesy and be these snake oil salesmen that like just do what we do and you'll have this perfect marriage. It's, but we've talked about this. It's like if we could figure out how to bottle this thing and be
Yeah.
authentically us and not sell out, and just whoever is meant to come and find us and want that piece. I feel like we have something extremely magical and valuable that a lot of people would want, because if you look at society now, there's all this Tinder crap and there's all this other
Yeah.
stuff, and they're really pushing the grass is always greener, and just keep looking in different yards for these different things. And I'm like, oh my God, wouldn't it be wonderful if we lived in a world where you found your first love and you just committed yourself to them without
Yeah.
having to worry about if it's better over there, if it's better. If you genuinely love someone with a pure heart, I don't think you can get that back again.
Oh my gosh. And how to be in that and keep it pure.
Hmm.
So it's so funny because in Ayurveda, they talk about pitta, kapha, and vata dosha. And the word dosha means fault. It means that something's not quite right. There's too much fire, too much pitta. There's too much earth and water. There's too much kapha. There's too much vata. There's too much air. But they each have a pure essence. And so the pure essence of vata, this extra air and ether. When it's pure, it's called prana. And we know that word from yoga. And kapha, when there's too much kapha, when there's too much water and earth, it's heavy and dense and stagnant. And when it's perfect, it's ojas. But when it's perfect, it's like this capacity to hold. It's this gorgeous ability of energy, sustainability within the body. And tejas is the pure form of pitta. So it's like, how do we keep ourselves in that pure form? Because that's the place where we're most able to be in those pure love relationships. So this is where I feel like Ayurveda has sort of given me vocabulary, template, modality to understand these kind of complex questions where it's like, how do we sit in this sort of vulnerable, exposed, pure place? Because even that in itself always feels a little bit insecure.
I was going to say, Jill, that as soon as you mentioned Ayurveda at the beginning, I didn't realize that is actually the reason why I started doing yoga, was for the
Oh,
longevity piece. I'm like, oh, I wasn't actually looking for yoga. I was looking for Ayurveda.
yeah.
And now I meet Jill Novak because I needed this piece of the puzzle that's missing to me.
Ayurveda, yeah. So the idea in it is that each of us have our own instruction manual, just like your car has one. And yet we don't know it. So it's also part of your life, your hero's journey in life is to go figure out your owner's manual. How do I work? And I think about the people who sort of they've got this book and they're like, oh, this is like the latest bestseller, right? How to live life. And this person behind it is like, if you do it this way, you're going to be whatever, the perfect weight, the perfect gorgeous beauty, the perfect millionaire, whatever it is. But each one of us has to write that our own manual and uncover it. And so for me, this is another place where Ayurveda has come in and gone, oh, I understand that about me. I've always known that about myself, but now I understand that I can trust it. Or I've always known that about myself, but now I understand how I can balance it. I understand that about myself, and that just gives me greater context to be able to trust my intuition. And so I do think the more you can know you, the more you can heal you because you will make intuitive decisions. And those intuitive decisions will always be made from that highest, best self trajectory, taking you in the right direction.
I love that there's another modality now because for me, it's never about the books. I can't read books and actually get the information I need because I'm a Scorpio. I need to go in. My knowing is what guides me. So,
Yeah.
but Alex is a Virgo, and for him, he is very grounded. He loves the knowledge and he bathes himself in it. So when you're talking about the container of the earth and water, I'm like, oh my God, that's so Alex because he
Yeah.
has this capacity to hold space for not just himself, but everybody that he comes into contact with. And I just love that we have the zodiac signs. Now we have this, and we have all these things. And I love that the word is fault. The dosha is fault
Yeah.
because that's just your starting point. That's where you kind of buy in and identify, but then you get to outgrow it, you expand. Like, yes, I identify with Scorpio, but then I get to transform into eagle energy and then phoenix energy. And there's always this ever growing. But how nice that our souls have left these little tools and little things that we can, whether it's gene keys, zodiacs, or this, like
Yeah.
it's just something we get to use to know ourselves even better.
100%. I think that it's almost like in our day and age, it's like the ego brain is the one that's risk averse and wants to stay in a sense of belonging and is really afraid to sort of let that uniqueness of you show because, yeah, it's not sort of popular or you worry about it fitting in and all those things. And so our ego brain is sort of, and we've been cultured as a society. Our culture has been like, this is the part you listen to. You listen to this rational, practical application that your brain says. And we've never been taught to listen to intuition. So we use it as catchphrase a lot, listen to your body, follow your intuition, but we don't have a guidepost or we don't have a sort of a pathway to understand how to do it. And so we're just making it up as we go along until you find these ancient modalities, astrology, Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine that begin to come in. And when you learn them, you're like, oh, that's how I work. And when you can understand yourself, it's almost like the ego brain goes a little bit like, oh, well, then I guess it would be all right if you followed that intuition. Because it gives some credibility to the intuition that the ego brain kind of needs, I think, in our culture to be able to sort of stand down just a tiny bit and let you try, let you experiment, let you investigate or have curiosity around a different way of moving forward in the world.
Oh yeah,
And
school does
there's
a very
no,
good job of. Sorry, I was just going to say school
that's
does a
okay.
very good job of beating that out of you. Don't make
Totally.
mistakes. Don't listen to yourself. Just rinse and repeat whatever the book says,
Yeah,
and away you go. Sorry, Kati, you go.
100%.
I mean, but that's by design, right? I mean,
Right.
the powers that be want to keep us from actually coming into our true birthright power of, raising the light and energy. And school is so the opposite of that. But we are coming out of that, and our kids are realizing actually that's something that it has been a big realization this week is how much smarter our kids are than us. And
Oh
I'm
my
not talking
gosh.
intellectually, but because that they're already pre-wired into the age of Aquarius, they know things that, I mean, even I still don't know, and they just feel it intuitively. It's just people often say, "Oh, I don't know about this generation. They're on TikTok and phones and blah blah blah." I'm like, no, they've got it.
You're fine. Well, and they're blessed. Your kids are blessed to have you as parents because that intuitive knowing in them will be something that you value, you encourage, like you said, if you're not a helicopter parent, you're probably going, well, that's interesting. How does that feel? Or, wow, that's a good observation. Can you tell me more? And I think I came into yoga and Ayurveda when my kids were young, and I became a yoga teacher when my youngest was 4. And so they were raised on this version of me expanding as they were raised. And there was for sure years where the eye rolls and the, oh God, don't embarrass me, mom, kind of stuff would happen. But they are adults now. And gosh, I'm proud of them. They are super connected, aware, emotionally intelligent, capable humans. And somewhere along the line, there's a little bit of osmosis happened. Or maybe, like you said, that osmosis was me absorbing from them because they were already programmed to arrive this way.
Oh, Jill, you and I are connected because I was just going to say the word osmosis at the same time as you. I'm like, it is through osmosis. You just working on yourself, you going inward, and it automatically raises everybody else around you, including your kids.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the same for us. There's a lot of times where they're like, I'm not listening. And the kids make fun of me. They're like, oh, Scorpio's coming out to sting. Like it's hilarious. They make such crazy fun of me, but I know that they're listening because I've heard their conversations with other people. And it's like, oh, without you actually saying exactly what I said, you're kind of the feeling of it's there.
Yeah.
It's
We
so
were
great.
we were traveling once and we were in the airport late for a late flight. And I think it was like 11 o'clock and we're sitting in some restaurant in the airport waiting. And my family orders like just some appies and drinks. And I order tea. And I'm not eating because especially when I'm flying, I'm like, I'm going to keep my digestive system going as best I can because that will help me with jet lag. That'll help me with all this other kind of stuff. So I do not want my day to be ruined by the fact that I'm eating at 11 o'clock at night. And of course, there's food left on the end of at the table when everyone's done. And I start reaching for a French fry after I've abstained the whole meal. And my daughter just slaps my hand. She goes, Mom, do not have that. She goes, you're going to feel great tomorrow. And the rest of us are going to feel like crap. It's like they know, and she's
I
watched us
know,
behave that way, and she knows too because she's experienced it. Yeah, yeah, they're
right?
smart.
It's so
They're smart.
beautiful. They're so smart. I'm not even remotely worried. So I love that. And the other thing I was going to say was when you were speaking with the modalities, it's so not like religion. There's all these different kinds of religions, and one religion's right and one is wrong. But with these modalities, from a higher perspective, you can see the similarities and that the underlying energies, it's all the same. It's all accomplishing the same thing.
I just had a conversation with Sandy Mulroy, also a local Cochrane genius, and she's an astrologer. And her and I had a conversation about how these two modalities dovetail. And it was the most fascinating conversation because they do. All of these more ancient, wise, holistic modalities, they do not compete, they collaborate,
Right.
and they all help us say the same thing and give you a portal of entry into your innate way of being that when you know, you can allow yourself to show up a little bit brighter. And it doesn't matter what modality sort of you find first, you can end up in all of them. And they all go back to a reinforcement of there is a divine in you that is ready to show up in this world, and there you are a gift to this world if you let that version of you show up.
My favorite part of all of this is that I love reading manuals. And if there is a manual that I need to read about myself, I will go and I will read it and I will
Oh,
learn
fun.
every single thing about it. So all of these things that I discover, it's great. And the funny thing is Katya doesn't read that stuff, but I bounce the knowledge that I gather off of her and then she will say, "Oh yeah, that resonates. That makes sense." And then that is the check. That must be the thing that we need to know. And now we'll start to incorporate that. But yeah, I
Well, I'll
love that
send
kind of
you the
stuff.
first step of Ayurveda, which is learning what Ayurveda calls your prakriti, which is your eternal constitution, the way you were sort of wrapped up at conception and meant to operate in this world.
Mm.
And this prakriti is the way kapha, vata, and pitta all work inside of you. How much fire is in you? How much earth and water is in you? How much air and ether is in you? And those words also are in traditional Chinese medicine, they're in astrology, they're in feng shui, those elemental words. And then the second step in Ayurveda is okay, that's how you're built to run. What's out of balance right now? So it's almost like the first step is like, how are you meant to work? Perfect. Now look again, what's agitating right now, because every body has a way of showing you your symptoms, and your symptoms are nothing other than your body going, "Oh, I don't want to go in that direction anymore. Can I nudge you back into a different direction?" And that's all it is. It's like the bumpers on a bowling lane where it doesn't want you to go in the ditch. So it's like, don't go that way anymore. It's not going to feel good. So the symptom is trying to direct you back to balance. I love
Wow.
it.
I love that so much, so much. And because you brought up the hero's journey, I'm bringing it back to this because the thing about the hero's journey is you're coming up to resistance. Everybody does it, right? You're going through your life. Here comes a challenge. It's time to slay the dragon. And then Disney's like, the end and movie over. However, you have learned something. You have gotten treasure to be able to retool yourself because
Yes.
you still have to go back home. The journey is not over. You climbed the tower, rescued the princess, but guess what? You got to heave her back home. So
Yeah.
you are bringing the gift back to the collective, back to your village, back to your community so that you can share and start elevating, right? Like now, here's
Yeah.
your soul's purpose. You've done the journey, come back and share. And I feel like so much of that must be your story too, where you must have had a resistance, a challenge, and you slayed the dragon. And now look at you bringing forward the treasure that you found in that. I would love for you to share a little bit of your journey if you're comfortable.
Oh gosh. I think I'd been doing yoga since I was like 25 years old. So that part had always been a part of my life. But I did have a breast cancer scare. And that's what sort of made me go, I'm not going to deal with this traditional medicine wise because I don't believe that's what's going on. The two women in my life I, the two women I love the most that passed away of breast cancer, it was their original cancer. They were the women who were selfless. They were the women who, at their funerals, would have been like, this woman gave everything to everyone. And Gabor Mates has a book that talks about sort of the root causes of different diseases. And breast cancer is this idea of like your energy leaks and you give it to everyone else, but you don't give it to yourself.
Mm.
And so the shift for me in that moment needed to be becoming selfish, which goes against all my conditioning. And it made me have to have conversations where I needed to advocate for myself. It needed me to not have to be everything to everyone and to be okay with that and to perhaps be judged or perhaps let myself be, yeah, like not seen in the most positive light because I was being more selfish, but also to just reinvent the stereotype around some of those words. And I had to really go into a new way of being in relationship with myself so that I was doing things like put the oxygen mask on yourself first, like that sort of metaphor, fill your cup so that what overflows from you is just this natural, easy thing that overflows. It's not you trying to ladle out the last bits of your energy from an empty cup. But that was a paradigm shift from how I'd been living. And it meant renegotiating my relationships. And I had to renegotiate inside of my marriage. And thankfully, I have a husband who I would say is very much a divine masculine man, huge, beautiful capacity and ability to hold my chaotic divine feminine. And but yeah, we had to get really honest with how we were doing things. And I would say even in that there was nothing that he was at fault with because the paradigm or the pattern that we had created, I was an equal contributor to that pattern. And then when I needed the pattern to change, I had to come in asking for the pattern to change. And what was hard about stuff like that was like not laying blame on the other person. Like, I'm going to need this to change because you're doing all this stuff wrong, because that wouldn't have worked either. But yeah, renegotiate my relationship with my husband, with my friends, with my family, my extended family, and even to a certain extent with my kids. I mean, they were little when I started that journey, but allowing them to grow into their own selves. And yeah, but I think that was the sort of turning point for me, was right around in there.
So when people talk about the turning point, I want to lean into when you discover that you have a life-threatening illness, a disease, anything like that. There is a moment where you are at a crossroads and you're going to choose, I'm going to do it this way or I'm going to do it this way. And I don't think that there is a right and a wrong way, because there are a lot of people who will choose Western medicine to help. And that in itself is a heroic decision for that person in that moment.
Yeah.
But then to choose the direction of, I'm not going to do that intervention, I'm going to try something else. That requires a secondary level of courage and bravery. And then you think about the knight who has to get on the horse and choose to go slay that dragon. So we're talking bravery and energy and courage. The works, Joseph Campbell is such a genius. I love all of his stuff, but now I see exactly where you are in your journey, in this hero moment where you're making this decision, you're getting on the horse and you're going to meet your dragon. So what was the slay the dragon moment? Like and what was the treasure that you took from that?
Oh gosh, I don't know that I had a moment. I feel like it was just the slow, steady accumulating trust in myself and in my intuition. And every sort of small step I took towards, well, what if I had this brave conversation? Well, what if I trusted this? I was just, every time I made that small step, I was sort of rewarded with a benefit. And I don't know, sometimes that benefit would be that, I guess at first it would have been like the symptoms that were in my breast went away. Yeah.
I would say,
And
Jill, that I can relate because what I'm hearing is one of your slaying moments would be to just trust yourself.
yeah,
Like completely getting rid of any doubt of your intuition. That is the mission that I'm on right now. And once I
yeah.
slay that dragon, it's almost like I would need something life threatening in order to fully trust in myself.
I want to challenge that because I think that sometimes we think that and no kidding, like a crossroads moment does make you choose a fork in the road. But at the same time, Ayurveda talks about not doing anything that creates stress. And it says, like, really what we need is kaizen. We need small, sustainable sort of steps. So you take a step, and then in the Japanese business model of kaizen, it's like you make a change, you notice the effects of that change, you note them, you decide if any further change needs to be made, and then you stay there until you notice the next change that needs to be made. And then you test that. And so I like that idea with intuition. So, what if I just trusted my intuition around whether or not I should have this glass of water or this glass of wine? What if I trusted my intuition around choosing what I want to order off this menu, not ordering what I think other people need me to order? Because so many times when you're in a social situation, well, you're like, well, I better have wine because that's what everyone's drinking tonight. What if you just allowed yourself to experiment with small acts of curiosity, saying, well, my intuition's saying this, and I've never, let's see what happens if I have tea instead of coffee, if I have the apple instead of the orange. And I'm using food, I don't know why, but it can be as easy as what would happen if I asked this question to my partner instead of being quiet and building a story about it. And that's sort of that slow build of trust where your body goes, well, that worked out okay. Interesting. All right. And it sets you up for a little bit of extra trust next time you come to that fork in the road. And maybe there's just a whole bunch of smaller forks in the road where each time it's like sort of when you're raising your kids, you've got that safety net and you want them to take safe risk. Where can you take safe risk with your intuition so that it's like, oh, I'm just going to test it on what time I get up in the morning and see what happens. I'm going to test it on my bedtime routine and see what happens. I'm going to test it on this intermittent fasting cycle and see what my body feels when I give it the ideal amount of time in eating and time in non-digestion mode. Yeah.
Oof, I love that, especially for my Virgo husband who loves the step by step and the processes. And that makes so much sense, dear, for you to try the intuition stuff that way because it's safe and then you can analyze it and then do it again.
I
Do you
just
guys,
want Jill to know for the record that I have done some horrifically terrifying things like quitting my job, leaving and selling all my stuff and going to Europe with my family while everybody thinks I'm insane. So I have done the thing, but this sounds way more pleasant, like
yeah, the
way
big
less
leap
of
is,
a, yeah, the
yeah.
big leap is crazy.
Vaguely considering. Do you guys remember when your kids were like, I think it's around grade 5, where they have this like experiment and they come home with the form and they're like, my hypothesis is this, and
Mm,
I'm going to test this hypothesis by setting up this experiment. And these are the things I'm going to need for the experiment. And then they do the experiment and then they collect the results and they gather
hmm
the data. And that's how Ayurveda kind of works. It's like we're going to set up an experiment and I don't know. I want you to go play with the idea of one of my 10 habits, and then I want you to see how that experiment happened in your world. What do you need to make that experiment successful? Do you need to have a conversation with your family to say, hey, by the way, I'm not eating, I'm not eating after dinner this week. I'm just testing out how my body feels if I close the kitchen after dinner and I try and let my digestion have a rest for the night. What do you need to make that successful? Do you need to hide all the stuff in the pantry for that week? Do you need to book walks with your friends so that you're not in the pantry? How would you make that experiment successful? And then how would you gather the data at the end? Yeah. I don't know.
Like
Like,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that too.
I don't know. As far as willpower goes, I'm better off if the stuff is in the pantry and I have the willpower not to go in there.
Mm.
I'm just talking about my own experience because Katya knows that if I've lost all hope, I'm driving and getting Doritos and I don't
Oh,
care. There
oh,
is
yeah.
nothing that can stop me. I'm an adult. I have a car. I have money. I can go and do whatever I want. But it is, yeah, it's funny, right? There's these like little challenges, but if it's there and you can't help yourself, then you're not even really ready. You ha Yeah, it's like,
But
yeah,
once
I don't
life
know.
becomes an experiment, then even falling off the wagon, all it is a data gathering point.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you fall off the wagon and you're back into your old pattern. It doesn't take you long to stew in that old pattern before you go, this is not comfortable anymore. I don't this isn't the version of me that fits me anymore. This isn't a place that I'm happy in. So, gosh, the day that we drive to the store and we get the big bag of Doritos and we go through the drive-through at the same time and we just like axe everything. If we gather data from that, we're just as far ahead as if we didn't done everything perfectly because we've been present to the repercussions or the maybe it's not even repercussions, the
I
effects of those choices.
I am married to the most healthy stickler I have ever seen. And she's so healthy, it's almost a quirk at this point. And we all just laugh. Me and the kids just laugh about, Mom would never put that in her body, ever. And then there's me at yoga. I got my shirt off. I'm like, God, my stomach looks fat today. I probably shouldn't have Doritos, but damn it, they're so delicious. So I guess I can put up with this stomach for a little bit longer until I just can't stand it anymore.
My husband laughs at me because he's the one who catches me not following my own rules all the time. And he's always like, I should out you right now. Like, I should just put you live on Instagram right now that you're doing
Yeah,
whatever you're doing.
yeah.
And like, I just think it's so funny because we're not perfect. We're not meant to be perfect. We're not meant to live in this austere world of doing everything right all the time. But what happens is if we do things the way our body wants them to most of the time, then it builds our capacity so that when we slip up once in a while or we make actually really intentional choices that we are going to, I don't know, whatever it is, drink wine, have Doritos, like have pizza, like all those things that might not be good for us. We're choosing to do it, but we're choosing to do it in a way where it's like, I am among friends. This is a beautiful event. Our ojas is capable of absorbing that. So we don't have to be perfect. Yeah.
Oh, I love that you said that because we went to a meditation on Monday at the Starlight Portal, and there was a man there who was leading us through the meditation. I can never remember his name, but he's so beautiful. He's just the most beautiful meditation person. He specializes in five-dimensional stuff. But he was saying that even though he is this beautiful vessel for channeling, he will choose junk food every time. He loves his junk food. And he's like, but I know how to clear it from my
Yeah.
body. I'm like, and there it is. There's the magic.
Yeah.
So it's life is this crazy balance of extremes because where Alex will let himself eat whatever he wants more often, I am the complete opposite to a point where it becomes rigidity
Yeah.
and punishing. Like I'm honestly punishing myself more than not. So
Yeah.
I'm learning how to be more self-compassionate and self-loving, and he's learning discipline.
Yeah.
So we're always learning a lesson just to get to this like same level.
Yeah.
I just keep telling her, it's like, you just need to balance out the Doritos with as much sex as humanly possible.
Oh.
Of course. Yeah. That's what my husband would say too.
Except after you eat a bag of Doritos, you don't feel that sexy. It's
Fair.
one or the other. But
Fair.
Kati's vice is ice cream and whipped cream. It cannot be in the house. If it's
Lovely.
there, Jill, that's the thing. When we were talking about the willpower, she might have willpower, but if it's there, it's empty. It's gone. She has zero strength when it comes to whipped cream and ice cream. It's over.
Yeah.
It is her
Well, and it
weakness.
just goes to show you, like when you know that sort of thing about yourself, you're like, even the words you just used, you have rigidity. And so it's like, okay, so what does rigidity need to balance it? Flow. Okay, so how do we bring more sort of flow into your world? And it sounds like you guys actually do sort of balance each other because one of you needs the structure, one of you needs the flow, one of you brings flow, one of you brings structure. Happily ever after.
Right?
I'm just so
It's just
fun.
meant to be.
I'm just way more fun than she is.
Yeah, my husband is more fun than me as well. Yeah.
Oh man.
Sorry.
But this Ayurveda is so interesting. And I thought, man, I wish more people would know about this.
Yeah.
How do we just get everybody to know about this? Because when I had that aha moment, I was doing jujitsu and it was driving me crazy that I was getting injured. I mean, I loved it. I loved the science of it. I loved the exercise. I loved the bonding with people. But I did not love not being able to lay on my side because my shoulder hurt so badly. I couldn't sleep at night because I was in so much pain. I'm like,
Mhm.
how is this helping my longevity? And I'm
Mhm.
like, it's not. It's actually hurting my longevity. So do I need to continue torturing myself or do I need to find Ayurveda so that I can enjoy my later years. Like, what's the point of growing old if I'm not enjoying being in this body? And ask Kati, if there's even one little thing wrong with me, I am a baby. I am miserable. I am not happy. That's how I feel like I'm in homeostasis or like perfection, like almost 100% of the time, because even if a little thing is wrong with me, she's going to hear about it or everybody's going to know that I'm not in a good mood. And but I love that. I love that about me, that I am constantly working on making myself feel really good, like
Yeah.
health wise.
Well, and this is the thing when you start to work with the holistic modalities is that mental, physical, spiritual, mind, body, spirit. Our yoga talks about the layers of your body, the physical, breath, mental, emotional, intuitive, and then the bliss body. The word in Ayurveda is Maya kosha, and the kosha word means layer. Maya means illusion. So it is an illusion that our body is separate from our mind, is separate from our emotions, is separate from our spirit. And so a sore shoulder, Ayurveda would be like, okay, let's look at the qualities of that sore shoulder and decide what dosha is affecting it. And then we start to bring in emotional support, mental support, physical support, everything, because the story that's playing out in that shoulder, it might not be as easy as there's a physical exercise for this physical pain that's in this physical part of the body. It might be that there's some sort of resistance that you're having, there's a pattern that's happening, or there's a conversation, and I don't know, like something in you is able to move through that, and all of a sudden the shoulder, you're like, I don't know what happened, but it's fine now. So I think these holistic modalities always look deeper than the actual physical symptom.
Yeah. I know that I started changing a lot of my diet. Like I noticed that I could get rid of inflammation if I stopped eating sugar. Sugar for me is a big thing, and bread too. I've been bad lately, and I know that's why my stomach is not looking as ripped and chiseled as it could be. I am a sucker for bread, but if I just got rid of that, it's crazy how much the bloating goes down in my body. That's what I noticed. Those two little things, sugar and bread, and I'm doing a pretty good job of not eating too many processed things. And Kati
Yeah.
makes like really good food. For and when I had that moment, that aha moment that, oh, for me it's 80% diet, 20% exercise.
Yeah.
So it might be something for somebody else, but for me, honestly, 80% is eating well, and then I just have to supplement it with
Some
basically yoga
exercise.
and walking. Yeah.
Well, I want to even share one more thing. My teacher in Ayurveda talks about how what you eat is only 4% of the health factor. In fact,
Oh,
how you eat is the most important thing. So there's Ayurveda has sort of 15 rules around how you eat. And it is all about having the digestive fire ready to receive the nourishment. So it's almost like if you go to cook your oatmeal, but then the gas stove is only on like low, and that it's like that oatmeal is gonna feel like it's mush, and then it doesn't quite get finished, and you put more oatmeal on the top of it, and then there's some of it's almost cooked and some of it's not cooked. If we kind of eat and our digestive fire isn't ready to burn hot and clean, then what we can eat is really mitigate like it narrows down.
oh wow.
So in order to expand what you're able to eat, knowing how to start your digestive fire and then honor that fire is one of the energy expensive processes in your body. So while your body is in digestion mode, there's a lot of other things that aren't happening. So can we turn on digestion for breakfast? Can we turn on digestion again for lunch? Can we turn it on for dinner? But then other than that, turn it off so that all of that energy that your body spends to go digest something, that energy gets diverted to, oh, well, I don't have anything to do right now. I'll go clean the baseboards, or I'll go wipe out the brain, whatever it is. Like there's just healing and repair and restoration that happens when we can turn off digestion for a little while. And I just see like our fishy cracker culture where every time and it's not even our kids, it's us. Every time we're even a little bit disturbed, we eat. And we're
Mm,
just putting more food. It's like we open the lid to that oatmeal pot and put more stuff in it all day long. And our stomach wants to actually like get everything ready and really rasa, like it wants to add a lot of bile to it and work it down so that then the stomach can release it into the intestines and into the colon. But it needs time to do that. So, how we eat, Ayurveda says if you ate following the guidelines of Ayurveda, you'd solve 90% of your digestive issues.
Wow.
We do that.
there you go. I believe
And
it.
it's all ancient. Like if you think about the way that farmers ate, our grandparents ate. They ate 3 meals a day. They'd get up from the table and they'd leave, and the next meal they ate would come back and sit at that table and eat another meal. Yeah.
Yeah. I eat cross-legged on the floor and I watch Brooklyn Nine. That's the way I eat lately. And that's not good. I need to concentrate on my food. One thing I do well, Jill,
Okay.
is I don't eat until 11 or 12. Like my last meal is like at 6 or 7 and then I might have a little snack, but then I don't eat until the next day until noon. But then I'm really hungry and I'm loving every bite of my food. I feel like that's the meal where I'm really, if I only had one meal, it would be that meal. And I
Yeah.
love it. It's like everything for me. And
Yeah.
then when I have dinner, it's just like, okay, I'm just topping up and getting ready for that next big push.
It's perfect. And certain doshas, so a kapha dosha, the more stability you have in your body, the more earth and water, the longer that fast time can be. So while that
Oh,
18 hours-ish that you're talking about is ideal for you, it's way too much for some other people. So the more, yeah, like some other people need to stay at 14 hours. Some people even need to stay at 12 hours, but it depends on your dosha. So this is where sort of following some sort of external rule in Ayurveda doesn't work. It has to be personalized for
right.
your own constitution.
We're still trying
So,
to figure out Kati's. We have no idea what she needs.
okay, yeah.
Not true. I know things. I
You
know
don't know
things.
anything. You're terrible. You don't know.
Wow. You
Just
know
when
what's
she said a while ago, I'm guided by my intuition. So clearly she knows everything. She just can't articulate it because our
there
intuition
you
isn't
go.
very chatty.
Not when it comes to food. I'm going to speak up and I'm going to speak up loud here. This woman has no idea how to nourish herself properly.
He
She's,
doesn't know.
yeah. Oh, yeah?
I totally do.
Tell Jill about the slurries that you would eat every day. Tell her about them.
It's not slurry. Yogurt and fruit and granola. And okay, so Alex had this big thing like 2 years ago where he was like, I'm fasting for this month of December. We're gonna, and I want to support him. I'm like, oh, I'll just do it along with you. And it was this man's diet. I almost died. It was way too much fasting for me. I felt terrible. So I know that I just need a little bit more, a little bit. I eat less, but more often. And that seems to be doing just fine for me. Thank you.
Yeah. So the more pitta you are, the more pitta and vata, like a pitta, I'm a person who's like a 14, 15 hour fast is about perfect for me. And then the vata person probably might even need 4 meals a day, but that person definitely can't handle an 18-hour fast. Like it's way too long. They would do 12 to 14 hours as their fast time overnight. But we all have to understand our own digestive fire. And Avata's digestive fire is just variable. It's kind of unreliable. It's like they go to the stove and it's like, oh, the stove doesn't work right now. Come back. Oh, look, it's burning perfectly now. And the Vata fire just is undependable. The
Hmm.
Pitta fire usually is really dependable. And the problem is it can get too hot, too big, and it can just incinerate everything and throw it out of the body really fast. And then the Kapha fire is sort of slow, sluggish. There's smoke, there's maybe smoke, but not fire. It needs to be a bit hotter and a bit cleaner. And that Kapha fire, if it can find the right amount of flame and get hot enough, then it's ready to go. But kaphas probably need that long time of not eating, of fasting, because they do have sort of slow metabolism and their body needs longer to be able to get everything through the whole process. It's not wrong. It's just the speed that body goes.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the buy-in, right? Like even just before we jumped on this call, I'm like, I just want to know a little bit more. So I did look it up and I'm looking at where would Alex and I fall? And he was totally the kapha, like just based on just reading this quick pick what you are. I'm like, that's totally you. And I was definitely pitta, where I was more in the middle there.
Yeah.
That's the buy-in. And it's like now that I have just this much, it's like, now I want to deep dive. Now I want to learn more
Yeah.
so that I can support myself better.
And this is where it is. It's like actually your intuition already knows all the answers. But how do we trust ourselves to listen to that intuition in a society that's always telling us what to do? So, how do we? I don't know. And for me, that's what Ayurveda has given me. It's sort of this trust. It's like, oh, okay, so if that's how I work, then I could trust this thing because
Oh,
that feels like that's what my body type needs.
the pandemic taught me to do everything the opposite of what the government says. So that
Well, the
started a
government is
whole.
not your that's not your intuition. So
No, exactly. But that's exactly what Jill's saying. It's whatever school and whatever these strangers are telling you what to do, you need to take a step back and reconnect with yourself and do what's best for yourself, not what's best for the food pyramid and the Doritos industry. And because those guys want you to eat 7 times a day and eat
Yeah.
chips and they want you constantly eating. They want you unhealthy. They want you to,
Distracted,
distracted,
disconnected,
disconnected.
yeah.
numbing.
Exactly.
And these are all things like it's hard in our society to not fall into that.
Not
Just,
anymore. Not when you listen to these guys and
yeah.
Jill.
But it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding to have that faith in yourself and be able to sort of see even the stories you tell yourself to keep yourself safe and then have compassion for that version of you that this still doesn't quite feel 100% safe. Yeah. So, any modality you can find that helps you connect into your own intuition, follow that modality. And whether it's yoga, Ayurveda, astrology, human design, the Enneagram, when it gives you a better perspective to know you, and then you use that perspective, not to keep yourself trapped in a new box, but then use that perspective to grow your trust in who you were meant to become,
Hmm.
then that's where these modalities can have so much power.
That's the mic drop moment right there, Jill. Perfect. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Man, it, our time has gone by way too quickly. Kati is going to ask you the question,
Okay.
and then I'm going to hype up your podcast, which you've done a terrible job of doing. You
Oh,
alluded to it secretly, but Jill does have an awesome podcast, and everybody needs to go check it out.
yay. Yeah, come. It's called Sister Science Stories, and it's on Apple and Spotify and on my website.
Sweet.
I can't wait to dig in because I see it dropping every once in a while on social. And I'm like, oh, look, there's Sandy. I
Yeah.
love her. And like, oh, look, there's so and so. I'm like, okay, we're all connected. It's so amazing.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely.
Oh,
Okay. What's the question?
I just wanted to let Jill know that Beth Davis thinks I'm perfect already. So
Oh,
I don't
yay.
really, I don't really have to change, but I will
Just
anyway.
so you know, everyone's perfect exactly as they are. And that's another piece of this is that this isn't actually about changing anything about yourself. This is just about figuring out how to love yourself the way you are. Yeah,
Yes.
every modality is should be like that. Every natural healing modality.
I've been battling with this because I've been using my thought of how imperfect I am to kind of toss that carrot out in front of me and try
Yeah.
and use it as a motivator. But it's like maybe I should just love myself and just know that I'm on a journey regardless.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to accept myself and accept the perfection that is what it is right now. But
Yeah. The
know
age
that
old
I'm still
question.
motivated.
The age old
Yeah,
question to use the whip or the carrot to get the
right,
horse to.
right. Either way, this is a horse.
I get that. Perfect horse.
Oh
Perfect horse.
boy. There we go. Okay, well, I'm going to ask the question then. What is one spiritual practice that helps you cope when suffering shows up?
I
Oh,
have
that's
a
a great
question
question.
that becomes an anchor in my day. And it is just this thing of being able to sit back, take a breath, and say to myself, what do you need right now? And usually the answer that comes up is something easy, simple. It could be you need a cup of tea. You need to just go outside for 5 minutes. Sometimes I need to pee. But when suffering comes up, it is something where how do I put a layer of support around myself right now? And I just ask the question, what do you need right now? And then I try and answer that question in that moment with something easy and simple to do. And I might need to ask that question to myself 10 times that day if suffering is present.
Wow.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Is that something that is kind of recent? Did you always ask yourself that?
It's been since Ayurveda came into my world because it's a
That's what I thought.
question, yeah, it's a question that lends itself really well to the experimentation of Ayurveda. And it's a question that connects you well to your intuition. So, what do you need right now? And
Wow.
not trying to figure out, like, oh, I need to go to the gym on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 2 o'clock and do weights or something. Like, it's not a big, crazy answer like that. It's usually like, could you drink a glass of water? Could you put on a pair of socks because your feet are cold? Is there some small, sweet way that you could be in service to yourself right now because things feel hard?
Right? And that answer that you just gave, the simplicity and ease of that answer can only come from a journey that's been fulfilled, from the resistance, from the challenge, from slaying the dragon. That's one of the treasures that you got to bring back for
Mhm.
yourself. And that
Oh,
creates this beautiful home homeostasis energy that lifts the entire energy of the house and the community that you're in.
yeah.
So it's you've
Aw, I'm
wrapped it
glad
up
you were able to
perfect.
articulate because I couldn't find those words. So thank you. Because
It
it's
was a
like, what do? You come home.
It's a genius answer.
Nah.
And and you answered it so quickly. You would think that we had prepared that, but wow, you were just bang. It
Oh,
was
yeah,
lightning
because it
bolt.
is my practice. It's my practice. That's what I do.
Wow.
When I feel dosha, when I feel off, when anytime I feel off, my question is, okay, you feel off right now. What do you need right now? So it's just become a practice to, yeah. And sometimes it is. It's like there's too much pitta. Sometimes I don't even know there's too much pitta. It's like my feet are cold. That's what I know. Yeah.
Wow. I'm mean. I'm like, stop being a bitch. I say that to myself.
Yeah.
I need to be way more kind. I need to be way more kind to myself.
well, and so that's why we ask the people to leave questions for the next person because it's very intuitive. You don't know who the next person is going to be. But because somebody left you that specific question, that means somebody listening to your episode needed to hear your answer and that it's going to change them in that moment.
Oh my God, I
So,
love that
It
ripple
was
effect.
me. That's me.
right?
I needed it. I'm
That
selfish.
means
I
I
needed it.
need your question
For
so
the next.
that it can, yeah,
So then my
contribute to the
question
ripple.
is easy. It is, how do you listen to your intuition?
Lovely.
I love that question. See, and Jill, I always talk to Kati for years. I would say that I had no intuition, or I
Mm.
always felt like I had none. And it was weird. I didn't realize how much I don't listen to myself. I'd rather go read a book or watch a how to or listen to somebody else tell me how to do something. And I would say just recently, in the last maybe couple of years, where I've actually come home and started listening. And I know that I am a very average person. So that means the average person out there probably does the exact same thing as me. And that's sad. We need to
Yeah.
change that.
Well, it's our conditioning. We're a much easier society when we are disconnected from ourselves. It makes us far more powerful beings when we are at home following our intuition.
Exactly.
100%.
Well, Jill, I wanted to say thank you so much, and you are welcome back anytime. I want everybody to go check out sisterscience.ca. And the name of the podcast again?
Sister Science Stories.
There it is. This the stories. And I had a quick question. It's like, are men welcome? Can we come and be part of the Sister Science
So
Club?
go listen to the very first podcast because she asked me
Okay.
that question. My branding person even said, as soon as you call it Sister Science, men aren't be welcome. And I'm like, that's interesting because women have been doing things man's way for centuries. So if the right man comes along and he knows his divine feminine is where he needs to sort of tune into, he is more than welcome in Sister Science Stories. There's no reason that men can't be in this land. We have one male graduate. So for the most part, women show up here, but
I don't want
when
to brag, but he probably got the highest score too.
honestly, and we loved on him. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much, Jill. And we're going to call this one a wrap and remind everybody to keep living your genius. And we're going to see you on the next episode. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Jill.
Thank you.